Anyone here in Echo?
Full of surprises, aren't you?
Look at the size of this place.
I'm ready.
Incredible! I knew the builders could work wonders, but this is amazing!
We light our own path now, Watcher.
I understand.
Lava will be on seek!
I'm ready. Good.
Can it? It has to be. Wow! But I never thought he'd reveal himself in person. This is incredible. Even his form is fickle and unknowable. Amazing.
You understand the value of a mystery watcher. A buried scroll, a hidden truth. These are my ways. You unravel a thread, Watcher. One you have lost and discovered over generations. And following it to its end has only brought you back to the beginning. A nebula of souls, blind and brimming with potential. The answer to Woodika's question and the beginning of yours. What would you do with them? In a way. But something must be done, and hurling them from the machinery of other schemes is the truest course of action. No end, Watcher. That is the purpose. None know. They could end up anywhere in the realms of gods or mortals, whole or divided. Discovering them again and charting their course through the ether will be a new mystery. That is a word for endings, and this is but a crossroads. Even I do not know what you would choose.
I'm ready.
These ones are it. These ones.
So much for our mighty
Lava. Lava Room, be off!
Someone check on Alof!
I'm ready. Ark.
Are you ready to take the oath? To spread the word of the gods to the lost and heathen? I am trusting you to remain loyal to the gods in this. If you do not, you will have greater powers than me to answer to. But you will answer to me as well. I wouldn't ask this were there any other choice.
This is a missionary, same as I was, taught the wrong things as I was. Oceanus. They have held off many would-be invaders.
You are ready to give a confession?
I am ready to hear one from you.
You are far from your post, Inquisitor. What brings you here? We are in a sanctum holy to Utica. There are others like it in service to the other gods. I come here often to pray for her counsel, and in this space I may be assured that she hears me. It has many uses, but its purpose is to bring structure to the chaos that surrounds it. They are monuments to Woodica's greatest servants among my people. I hope to join them myself one day, but my work is not yet complete. That woman sought only to destroy the foundations of peace and civility that my people sacrificed everything to build. The Inquisition was based on the need to cut the flesh from a rotting wound. What is a god? A higher power? A rewarder of good deeds and punisher of the wicked? Something men can turn to in their darkest moments when their days seem only like bridges from one tragedy to the next. Our gods are all these things. We are in a sacred place within earshot of the gods themselves. This is not the time. You've been through much these past few months. You will return home and you will rest. When you feel you have recovered, you may rejoin us at the trials. The Inquisition is far from over, and I will have need of you. There are many who continue to spread the lies of the apostate. The Inquisition will not end until we have pronounced judgment on all of them. How did you find it? Another in a string of acts of petty defiance. For all her knowledge, she always preferred spite over reason. Then she should have obeyed. I ask one thing of all my followers. She was incapable. A waste of rare talent and intellect. What of your cohorts, then? They have followed you to their deaths. Is it loyalty that brings them here? Or is it, as my agents suggest, that they have no direction of their own? What of you, Orlan? My agents tell me you are far from home, both in distance and in years. Have your friends proven a worthy distraction from the pain of ostracism?
Ostracism? Is that the name for the groin rash your mother gave me? Don't fool yourself, old man. You know nothing about me.
Enlighten me, then. Is it Gallowayne you serve, or is it WoW?
I serve no one, but I embrace the teaching of WoW. The eyeless face does not have servants, only students.
But such difficulty on the way. If you had only accepted that perhaps you were fit to serve neither god, just as you were unfit to serve your tribe, you might have saved yourself the trouble.
Perhaps you're too young to understand these things, Theos. Or mayhap too simple-minded. Without difficulty along the way, one isn't much of a student to WoW.
Yet I suspect you amount to little in your god's eyes in either case. You built a weapon that delivered exactly as promised.
I served my goddess as you did yours.
Yet the other builders were slain, 11 of a dozen. Why not you? Were you somehow different? Redeemable in your god's sight?
Whatever desire I had to be redeemed in her eyes was weakness, purged by the Watcher's sight.
Or was it merely that your goddess wanted you dead as well, and your delusions of importance prevented you from seeing the obvious?
A whore's beguiling charms, nothing more. But the spell's broke now, Theos. The trial's over. I know friend from foe, and I've come here now to see a foe repaid.
You were able to destroy a god because another god wished it. Without her hand to guide you, you could not strike at a god any more than you could strike the sky. You are impotent, and not just from the pox. I understand your Duke's bells gave you a mission.
Their orders do not absolve me of my greater responsibility to the safety and well-being of the Republics.
Trying to rile up Pallegina? Bad move, my friend. Unless you feel like you have too many limbs. In that case, keep it up!
Yet you disobeyed. Something you already have a reputation for. They will know, of course. If it had been for a worthy cause, they might have forgiven you. But I don't see them pursuing animancy after seeing what it's done here. They trusted you, and you disappointed, as you always have. And you will again be disowned.
The parents scold, but the children are safe. Whether animancy research continues in the Republics or not, they will survive. For now, that's enough. In any case, I wouldn't be so smug about my fate, Theos. I imagine Woodica responds to disappointment much more severely than even my dukes.
State your name and purpose, young acolyte.
My name belonged to the gods and my hand to their service. No more.
You serve none but yourself. Without contact with your order, you can have no higher purpose. Only the base concerns of the flesh. You have cast yourself from our ranks.
And I should have done it years before. I'd rather live in uncertainty than servitude.
And that uncertainty would lead you where it leads everyone. To doubt, to emptiness, to the many cruelties inspired by disbelief. You will have to forgive your Grandmaster for remaining skeptical of his initiate's choices. You are far from home, dwarf.
I knew my hunt would send me a long way from Masuk. It was a challenge I was glad to undertake for my village.
A journey, then? It must be of some import to take you so far and to last so long.
It's important to Masuk, and so it's important to me.
You are here because you are lost. The gods cannot reach everyone, I'm afraid. May you fare better in your next lives. I gather you have had your soul awakened. Why else would you shadow my footsteps like some stray mongrel? You think I have something to offer you, but our business was concluded long ago. I answered your questions once. That your soul is not fit to accept the answers is of little concern to me. I lied to no one. Not to you, not to anyone. The gods are real. They are everything we need them to be, and the world is better for it. The heart of this country has skipped a beat. Nothing more. I have done far worse. I plunged the peaceful kingdom of Telosus into civil war. I slew the monarch of Desantio, whose people never knew hardship under his rule, and replaced him with a cruel despot who brought them to ruin. When plague arrived at the great city of Arborensis, I saw to it that the cure did not. They piled their dead outside the city in heaps that rose above their walls. That's where you are mistaken. There was a time, back when your soul was still a shapeless mist, when the world believed only in false gods. Thousands of them. Gods that told them to take slaves. Gods that told them to make war upon their neighbors and devour the slain. Gods that told them to burn their children alive and cover themselves in the ashes as a sign of their faith. But all that changed when they learned of the true gods. Our gods. All those misshapen, bestial instincts melted beneath the radiance of our God's majesty. You could see it in their eyes. That dull emptiness replaced with the glimmer of a kindled spark. There is no false hope. Only hope for things that never come. Have you imagined this existence? The one the apostate would have created. We are not all so virtuous as she. Without our gods, the most wicked, the most tyrannical, they would take that power for themselves. But more than that, it would be a hollow existence. All mysteries forever unanswered. All purposes constructed from meaninglessness. No endings to bring closure. Only a wheel, turning without mercy, grinding our spirits to dust. Telling yourself each day that what you do matters, that it isn't all for nothing, that the world is just. The apostate's world is built on believing lies. All I have seen, the millennia of experience. I will not be dissuaded from this course. This is the only way. We are all controlled by our own doubts. Better that we should be relieved of them. With your soul and thousands of others, I will see this world purged of its suffering. Hear me, Woodica. Your servant calls for aid. Rock 10!
Hey there.
Aye?
Hey there.
How may I help? How may I help?
What? What? Breathe, Ul! Leap now!
Hey there.
I need to be stronger!
What?
I need... something stronger! Ella!
Mow it. Mow it.
Ready, Watcher.
Yeah?
Navaru, be on seek!
Get on!
Hey there.
Aye? Navaru, be on seek! Aye?
What?
Yeah?
Hmm?
I need something strong.
Give mow it.
Rift!
What? Mow it, Ixie.
We lost someone.
That's the servant down, and the mistress still to go. A good start, worthy of being built upon.
I hope this is the end, but what's to stop him from being born again with the same ill intent? And before you suggest the option, no, I'm not eating his soul. I'll put almost anything in my mouth, but not that.
After journeying for lifetimes, I can't imagine his failure, knowing it was all for nothing.
In his own way, Theos must have truly believed he was caring for the people of Eora, protecting them from themselves. A shame his soul won't have a chance to reflect on his errors before it enters the wheel.
He spent his lives, more than any of us will ever know. For what? Binding the world to a lie. Could a man like that ever be redeemed?
To apply the teachings of Durance would more immediately satisfy the cravings in my bones. But this is the stronger lesson, for his soul is already marked by his own hand.
Some acts cannot be forgiven, it seems.
I suppose we'll see if he can rise above that.
I'm ready. I'm ready. So much for Theos, then. Now you have a chance to set things right, back to the proper order of things. It will take the Deerwood generations to recover, but at least these souls will find their way back to the wheel, as it should be.
Victory looks good on you! There was a blur about your soul that lingers no more. Seems putting Theos to rest has given you some measure of inner peace. Of course, Now you need to decide what to do with these trapped souls. So many hopes and dreams, all of them torn from the cycle and trapped for Wall knows how long. You could set them free, nowhere in particular. Just free to go Wall knows where. Think of how many new lives and new journeys could start this very moment. It's all in your hands. I know you are the right person to decide the fate of so many. You helped bring me closer to WoW, and I believe WoW delivered you to this moment, this decision. It has been an honor to be along for the journey.
Astounding. I always knew the Leaden Key stood for something big, but I didn't quite realize what I'd gotten myself into. And now, you're in the middle of something even bigger. With a decision that will affect millions. But even if you send the souls somewhere specific now, who knows what the next turn of the wheel will make of them? We can't really control what happens to them. Nor should we try. I had to see the monster Theos had become to realize that. It's your decision, of course. And whatever you decide, I'm glad our paths crossed in Gilded Vale.
Never thought I'd see something like this in my travels. Lends a little perspective, doesn't it? It's a bitter thing to have come so far only to find that it was all for nothing. Somehow, I don't think we're any better off knowing what we do. I'd probably still be twiddling my thumbs by the side of the road if you hadn't come along. Thanks for bringing us this far.
Ah, the end of the road greets us at last. You fared well, Watcher. Better than any Watcher has right to. Seems you were a field in need of a flame's cleansing. Would that my own trial had produced such an outcome. I had figured myself for the field all this time. But you were the field, and I the darkness. A lesson neither of Durance nor of Margaret. But with that trial's end, a new one begins. A God's trial. And I will stand in judgment without mercy.
I'm ready. Good.
You know something of quiet servitude, Watcher. Groveling and simpering before the gods whose aid you need, so that when they finally raise you to a place of power, you can seize what you desire. You have labored at the pleasure of others, that shriveled hag in Hadrit House, those preening soldiers with more taste for silk than steel, the wretched tribesmen playing out their fantasies of grandeur. And then you cowered and knelt before the gods themselves, begging one paltry favor and receiving riddles and visions in response. And now the gods give you orders and commands, even while you set out to fix what they cannot. Yet what have they offered you? The exiled queen is not an ungrateful patron. Finish the work Theos began. Strengthen Woodica with these souls and allow her to become the most powerful of all the gods, with you as her favored. You say that now, But when you're standing in front of the machine, considering the lifetimes and the powers that await you, we'll see what you do.
At your command, the ancient device became your instrument, spinning to life with deafening resonance and gathering up the swirling essence like thread on a great spindle. There, in the pale pulsing glow of the machine that set you on this path long ago, you summoned all your strength, focusing on your objective and blocking out all else. With a single concussive blast that rocked the chamber and sent you tumbling to the ground, you freed the souls from their stasis. Exhausted, your consciousness slipping away, your last sight was of the machine, dark and dormant. Then your eyes closed, and sleep welcomed you at long last. After coming to and searching for some time, you discovered the route Theos used to enter Sun and Shadow, and embarked on a long and arduous ascent back to the surface. You emerged in Ter Evron after days of tunneling through the rubble Theos had left behind, and when you stepped into the daylight, you were faced with a different Deerwood than the one you had left. At your direction, the souls diverted by Theos were guided back to the vessels originally meant for them. For the first time, parents of hollow-born children woke to the cries of their infants, and looked into their eyes to see them staring back. People fell to their knees where they stood, thanking Helia or Mogren, or even Aethys for their forgiveness of whatever guilt they felt they bore. But for all the relief that had come to some parents, others only found new grief. For many thousands of Hollowborn had died during Wideone's legacy, many by their parents' own hands. For those children, there would be no homecoming. Yet the last Hollow birth was in the past now, and those parents willing to risk trying for a new child were frequently rewarded, often with twins. Many felt they saw Helia's hand in it, and the year would be remembered as the year of Helia's splendor. Lord Radric's zeal had brought him back to life once, but it would not do so again. Radric's destruction at your hands spelled the end of his suffocating rule over Gilded Vale and the surrounding area. In his absence, the village prospered, becoming a popular destination for new settlers anxious to leave Defiance Bay after the riots. Without a nearby ruler, it also grew more wild, with many settlers moving on as soon as they'd arrived, turned off by lawlessness that was excessive even by Deerwooden standards. Nevertheless, despite the challenges of living there, Gilded Vale had survived, and would continue to survive for the foreseeable future. Following the assassinations of Duke Avar Wolfgren and Lady Webb, Defiance Bay was thrown into political upheaval. In the ensuing weeks, the streets had become the domain of looters and blackguards. Few dared to step outside their own doors alone or unarmed. But order was soon re-established by the Knights of the Crucible, who, despite their depleted numbers, had gained favor in the public eye for their role in the unraveling of the conspiracy surrounding Wideone's legacy, and were quickly reinforced by returning forces from Fleetbreaker Castle. For the Knights, their resurgence marked a return to the tradition as well. Having seen firsthand the dangers presented by dabblers in animancy, the Order quickly abolished the practice internally, preferring the familiarity of their hammers and forges to the uncertainties of Essence and Adra. Their identity rediscovered, the Knights suppressed their political aspirations and began once again to train their recruits in the art of blacksmithing, recapturing the post-revolutionary ideals of Deerwood and regaining the respect of its citizens as a result. Though the machine atop Ter Noaneth had been disabled, it had not seen its last use. Heritage Hill was rebuilt, and no sooner had the first families moved in to resettle the district than members of the Leaden Key, acting under standing orders from their Grand Master, climbed the tower and reactivated the machine. The initiates slew a handful of the new settlers under cover of night and watched as history repeated itself, the victims reanimating and devouring the survivors. After this second incident, the district would remain abandoned. The Duke's assassination at the apparent hands of an Animancer had caused catastrophic rioting in the streets of Defiance Bay, and few Animancers survived the first day. Many Deerwoodans took the end of Widewind's legacy as a sign, both that the gods did not approve of Animancy, and that the purging of Animancers in Defiance Bay had been enough to satisfy them. In time, their rage would subside, and a number of surviving Animancers remained in and around Defiance Bay, often taking to the wilds to practice their science without repercussions. The fortress of Cadnua emerged as a bastion of security in the midst of an untamed land, becoming the envy of every Thane and Earl in Deerwood. Legend grew over time of its impregnability, and stories of formidable invaders easily scattered by the keep's defenses became popular around the hearths of Deerwoodanians. Likewise, it also became a beacon to travelers, merchants, and visiting dignitaries alike. Reputed as the finest fortress in all Deerwood, people would journey from near and distant lands alike to experience its fabled hospitality and grandeur. The Audra dragon known as the Master Below, her soul now housed in the body of the huntress Fallen Roet, passed out of Deerwood in relative anonymity, her final destination unknown, even to herself. She was last seen in the port town of Road's End, boarding a ship, an Audra talisman glowing about her neck. Pallegina had gone against the Duke's Bell's orders by inventing a new trade arrangement with the Anamenfath to accommodate the recovering Deerwoodan market. With the Deerwood's people still weakened by Widewind's legacy, the Valian republics easily pushed their would-be competitors out of the market. For her outrageous insubordination and audacity, Pallegina was banished from the republics. She traveled north in the Eastern Reach, avoiding Valian ports and entering the ranks of the kind wayfarers. Despite her bravery and dedication to those in her care, her strange appearance made her feel like an outsider wherever she went. Haravius took his leave of the party and, after his first bath in years, returned to his nomadic lifestyle. With his homesickness expunged, he found renewed joy and tranquility in his wandering survey of the wilderness. For the first time in his life, he ventured beyond sight of the mountains of Glonfath. During his travels, he penned numerous journals and sketches detailing his travels through frozen tundra, searing desert, and tropical forests. Wherever he went, Haravius left behind stories of the Autumn Druid, a temperamental, one-eyed wise man of the forest, known to bring food to lost travelers and unusual advice to anyone willing to ask him a question. Adair chose not to return home to Gilded Vale. Through a number of quiet inquiries, he soon found his way into the underground organization of Aethasians known as the Night Market. Ironically, in learning that the gods had been fabricated, Adair found his faith in Aethus renewed, and that his god was neither alive nor truly a god had become irrelevant. He rose quickly through the ranks of the Night Market for his optimism and for his bold leadership, his ultimate goal to make the Deerwood a place that would welcome followers of the Shining God once again. When the dust settled in Sun and Shadow, Aloth looked upon the remains of Theos Ixarchanon, his former master. He saw where the Grand Master had gone wrong and what would be required to undo the harm Theos had wrought. With a flick of his wrist, he burned Theos's robe, headdress, and every other symbol of the man's power. Never again, he vowed, should Kith live in fear and blind obedience to an authority they did not understand. Armed with the knowledge and courage he had gained on his journeys with the Watcher, he set out on the long and lonely task of dismantling the Leaden Key. With both their aims fulfilled, Kanarua bid the Watcher farewell and sailed back to his beloved Rawatai. There, he reported on his findings to the Lore College. Kana spoke of the Engwithan people, describing both their vile experiments and their inspiring accomplishments. He spoke too of the destruction of the tablet by the Leaden Key, and the group's efforts to erase the Engwithan legacy from the world. Both inspiration and cautionary tales, he said, could be found in the world beyond Rauatai's borders. Kana urged his people to continue to pursue knowledge abroad so that the lessons found there might benefit Tekoa. Kana's inability to prove his theory of Engwithan influence diminished his academic standing, but his passion drew much interest from those less concerned with degrees. Kana swiftly became an influential figure in the move toward a more collaborative approach to expansion on the northern continent. In his personal life, he came to enjoy the reputation of an affable eccentric, willing to share grand and impossible secrets, along with a drink and a song. With Theos defeated and the souls released from Sun and Shadow, healthy children were born once again in the Deerwood. The grieving mother sought a place where she might do penance for the birthing bell. She returned to Deerford, where, to the astonishment of the villagers, she delivered the first healthy child in over a decade. She remained there, and with each new birth, she saw a measure of hope restored to the Deerwood and a measure of grace for her own troubled past. Durrance used Magrin's strength only until Theos had been cast from the world, and then swore off her influence entirely. Regret came to weigh heavily on his mind, and a man who had never previously lacked for words or opinions came to embrace silence and contemplation. He continued to wander, penniless and destitute, searching now not for the reason for his goddess's silence, but for a mechanism for revenge. The charred robes he continued to wear as a reminder that he had been burned by his goddess, and not just by the flames of the Godhammer. In her 4-month journey back to Nositoc, Sagani found that the landscapes she traveled had become strangely colorless, the food bland and unsatisfying. She watched the Deerwood, Air Glonfoth, the Valian Republics, and the lands beyond slide by with a dull sense of dread. She returned home to great celebration, yet the words of joy and congratulations rang hollow to her. Old beloved songs sounded toneless. The rituals of changing seasons became drudgery, and Sagani experienced her life back in Masuk as if in someone else's skin. So she fought to feel the worth of her actions, or at least to let her village feel them. She led ever longer and more ambitious hunts, mentoring the younger rangers who followed her. On one such expedition, her party was beset by a blizzard, and she pressed on where her companions turned back. She did not return to Masuk. For you, the death of Theos brought an end to your waking visions, and a silence to the whispers of the past. In their absence, you were able to sleep. The questions of a distant lifetime ceased to trouble your soul. All that remained was what to make of the answer. But at the moment, there was little to be done, and the matter would have to wait. A long journey loomed ahead.